Hello, my sweet friends. Thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Becky, and welcome to Kinda Shabby. Each week, I share kinda shabby but always chic, crafty inspirations. In today's video, I have several quick and easy DIY projects for you that are also perfect for gift giving. First, we'll be using fabric and these Avery iron-on transfer sheets along with these French labels from the Graphics Fairy to create some lovely lavender-scented sachets. Next, I'll show you how to take your Iron Orchid Designs cameo mold and make these absolutely gorgeous melt and pour soaps. Next, I'll show you how to take pretty napkins and apply them to some Dollar Tree candles. We'll also be taking some Dollar Tree candle holders and giving them a shabby chic touch as well. Next, we'll be taking laces and ribbons and cardstock to make gift tags that are just as gorgeous as the gifts we have just created. And each of these projects are in collaboration with my sweet friend Jody at Southern Seasons. Jody creates beautiful French country as well as shabby chic decor and styles them in the loveliest vignettes. You will love her channel as much as I do. Well, we have lots in store for you today, so let's go ahead and get these projects started. I have these lovely little French typography labels linked below for you. I want to make sure that you have your image mirrored because then you're going to put that on your fabric and iron that down. Your instructions are also included in your packet so you know exactly what to do to achieve fantastic results. And you want to cut around your image as closely as possible. You're going to eliminate most of that white background. And now that I have all of my little labels cut out, I'm going to turn them over and iron them to the front of my sachet bags. Place it in the middle of our fabric as best we can, and we're going to press and apply pressure. Then I come back gently over all of the edges just to make sure everything is stuck down. And we're going to let that cool off. And so I'm going to follow that same process for the remaining fronts of my sachet bags. And now that our iron-ons have cooled, carefully remove our paper backing. Look how pretty that is. I just love using these iron-on transfers. Now that we have all of our paper removed, I'm going to be taking the backs of my sachets and pinning them down over the front, and I'm going to stitch around and leave an opening at the bottom to stuff. But you absolutely could use glue to adhere your sections together. So after stitching, I clipped my corners, turned it right side out, and gave it a good press. I also went back and added top stitching, and I have completed a few here, and you can see just how nice the top stitching looks on these little sachets, and they are just so cute. I wish I could tell you how good my craft room smells right now too with all of this lavender essential oil on them. So now we're going to go ahead and get these two completed. I am going to be stuffing mine with polyfill. And I'm also using cotton balls that I have put a few of the lavender essential oil drops on, but you can stuff yours with anything that you like. So I'm going to take my polyfill and start stuffing, working it into the corners. So now that I have them almost fully stuffed, then I take some more polyfill and put my cotton ball, and I want to wrap that around. I don't want the oil from the essential oils to make little stains on my fabric, and that's why I wrap it so it doesn't come in direct contact with my fabric. And then I insert. Now I'm going to go back over to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch this closed, and then we'll get these decorated. I have buttons and lace and crinkled seam binding, and I also have some lamb's ear and lavender sprigs as well. I'm just going to see how I want that to look. So I'm just going to glue that down like that. And I like that little button. I'm going to glue that down there. And that's adorable. Let's move on to the next one. For our next one, I want to do a little shabby tassel using this ivory lace and this beautiful blush colored crinkled seam binding. I'm going to see how far I want it to hang down. So then I'm just going to fold it on itself a couple of times. So we have some loops at the top and some loops at the bottom. And before we cut our loops, you want to take a piece of thread, and I'm using some heavy-duty nylon, and you're just going to tie it very tightly close to the top like this. And then you can clip your threads. Now you take your scissors and you come down to your loops, cut at an angle, and cut your loops apart. So then that gives us a cute little tassel. And now we're going to glue that to the corner. I think that's going to be just lovely, so we're going to get that glued on as well. I like it. I think that's just gorgeous. And for this last little guy, we are going to be adding some of this cute pom-pom trim. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know I love me some pom-pom trim. And now I'm going to take some of this lace and come back and glue that over the top just to give that a more finished look. I love how these turned out. They are so cute. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next project. Next, I'm going to show you how to take your Iron Orchid Designs Cameo mold to make these amazing melt and pour soaps. The detail on these are just so absolutely gorgeous. I use a shea butter soap block, and I get this at Hobby Lobby, but you can also find those on Amazon. This is a 5-pound block. They do come in smaller blocks, and you will not need very much to complete this project. If you want to color your soaps like I have, you will need some soap coloring that is all natural, and I will be using the red out of this one. And I get these at Hobby Lobby, but again, they can be found on Amazon. I start with a clean mason jar. I'm going to just cut off pieces of my soap block, and it's very easy to cut. And then I want to cut it into smaller pieces so it melts very easily. And we're going to use our microwave for this. You're not going to believe how quick and easy this project is. And you can see I have soap chunks just in the bottom quarter. You do not want to overfill your jar. My melt and pour is a melt in the microwave, but you will follow the directions according to whatever soap base you are using. Mine also says to use the lowest setting and to melt in 20-second intervals. So let's head to the kitchen. Now we're all set up in the kitchen, and you will need an oven mitt, or I'm going to be using my little soup bowl cozy. And you'll also need a plastic knife or something to actually stir it up with. So I'm going to go ahead and get this melted. We're going to add our color and pour it into our mold. So that's after 20 seconds. It's starting to melt, and now it needs to go back into the microwave again to complete the process. And it's all melted. And now I am going to put literally the teeniest, tiniest, I'm not even going to put a full drop of color in there. And you want to incorporate your color thoroughly into your soap and then start pouring it into your mold. I like to let them sit for a good 10 minutes before I even attempt to touch the back, but when you touch the back lightly and it's not warm anymore, then they're ready to come out of the mold. Very gently push up underneath and pull out to reveal your gorgeous, gorgeous soaps. They are so pretty. Look at the detail on that face. Oh my goodness. These are just so pretty. Well, let's go ahead and get back into the craft room. And now I'll use an X-Acto knife and a fingernail file just to clean up some of these edges. This has a little extra hanging out down here. And then use your fingernail file to come in and smooth the edges out. These are just so gorgeous. Now, I did not add fragrance to mine. You can add fragrances, but the shea butter base has just a nice, fresh, almost like an ivory soap smell. So if you choose not to add scent to yours, that is going to be fine as well. We're going to need something cute to put our soap in. So I have this cute little box that I made from an Olay soap box. I also put some little feet at the bottom using half round wood beads, and that is going to be a cute way to either gift or also display your soaps. And the tutorial for how to cover these boxes is in last week's video, so I will make sure to link that for you below. Now let's go ahead and move on to our next project. For our next project, I'm going to show you how to take your hair dryer and parchment paper to apply images from these napkins to our Dollar Tree candles. First, you'll take your parchment paper and you want to cut a strip that is going to be larger than your candle. Next, you'll take your napkin and select the images that you want to apply to your candle. And this right here looks like it's going to fit on my candle pretty well. So I'm going to cut around 2 of these images. And I've trimmed away the excess of the napkin pretty close to my image. And now I want to remove the extra plies. I just find it easier to cut it and then pull the ply apart. And then you want to place it on your candle. The butterfly is not going to fit, so I'm going to have to trim that off. Okay, that's much better. I'm going to take my parchment paper and lay it on top, making sure that your image hasn't moved and it's still on the candle like you like it. You're going to scrunch this up, and that's going to be your handle. And now you're going to turn your dryer on high, and the heat from your dryer is going to transfer your image. It's hard to tell on camera, but as your image begins transferring to your candle, it actually shows up much better through your parchment paper. And just rub over it and check for adhesion. And you can see this has not applied yet, but this side is down and looks fantastic. So I'm going to put my parchment paper back over the top and just continue applying the heat from my hair dryer and apply this image. And there we go. Isn't that just so pretty? Now I am going to need another piece of parchment paper because when I applied it, it actually caused a little bit of the ink in my napkin to bleed onto the parchment paper. So I'm going to go off camera and do the same process to my other candle. And this is such a quick and easy project, and it makes such a difference on just some plain white candles. So let's set these aside and get started on painting our candle holders. So I'll be painting our candle holders in the color Pink Bliss. And this is a chalk paint that I pick up from Michael's. I put a little bit into a jar and also put a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda in there and gave it a good stir. This is going to help it to give a little bit of texture to our glass, and it also helps it to adhere better to the glass as well. And you can see just how smoothly that goes on. And I am going to need to apply a second coat. I think that that looks really pretty with our candles. Now this is quite bright, so we are going to be toning down this color a bit with some waxes. So I have my 2 coats on here, and on this one I have applied the white wax. And you can see it makes quite a bit of difference, and it really tones everything down. And when you're applying wax to painted glass, you really want to be careful not to rub too hard. I just use an extremely soft brush and just dab and paint that on. If you get the wax on your hands and then you start touching your candle, it'll actually pull the paint off of your candle. So I just try to hold it at the top and the bottom to avoid touching the painted areas directly. I like to let my wax set up for about 10 minutes, and now I'm going to come back over it with a paper towel and begin dabbing off the wax. until you get the look that you like. Well, let's go ahead and get some pretty lace on these. So the lace that I was planning on using was actually too thick for the neck of my candle holder. So I just took some white ribbon and some paper flowers and tied a little bow and glued that onto the center. And I think that is just so cute. So now we can set a little saucer on top and put our candle on top of that. And that is just so sweet and so cute. So let's go ahead and move on to our last project. So let's get started on making some pretty gift tags. You could use scrapbooking paper, but I've actually printed some pretty images that I found off of Google, and I've printed them onto cardstock. I cut them into 2.5-inch wide strips because that gives me the widest available to be able to punch that tag at the top. I purchased this from Hobby Lobby and it makes several sizes of tags, and I really love the detail that it gives at the top. But you most certainly could use just your standard hole punch to punch the tags yourself. After I cut and punch my tag tops, I go back with my Ranger archival ink in the color coffee and I distress the edges. This one has been nice and distressed. I also rub it over the back just to give it some texture on the back. This one I've not done anything to yet. So I just dab it on the back. And you don't have to do this if you don't want any interest on the back. That is just fine. And then I go over all the sides and I wipe it kind of down the middle as well, just to give that a more vintage look. And I'm going to go ahead and use my paper trimmer to cut these, and I cut these various sizes in height just due to how the graphic fell on the page, but I made sure that they were all 2.5 wide to make a good top on the tag. Insert that into your tag maker, push down, and it just makes that awesome little decorative tag top. And now I'm going to take just a couple minutes to make all of my edges extra shabby with my ink pad, and we'll be back to get them decorated. And when I start making tags, I just pull out everything that makes me happy. I have lace and beads and pom-poms and buttons. It just all makes me happy. And you're just going to start layering those pieces on. This card is already so beautiful, so I'm not going to do a whole lot to it. I'm just going to take one of my favorite laces and just glue that to the bottom edge, just like that. And a little pink ribbon for the top. And that was easy peasy. And more of my favorite lace on this one. And we're going to apply this one vertically. I love this fun furry trim that I picked up at the thrift store, and I think that's going to look really cute along the bottom of our little bird. Kind of reminds me of feathers. For this one, we're going to take some pink crepe paper and we're going to make a ruffle. And that's what I've done at the bottom of this one. And you just walk it between your fingers, making very tiny little pleats. So it's going to look like that. And then once you have all of your pleats done, you're going to turn your tag over. You're going to let it open up a little bit until it covers the width of your tag. And then you're just going to glue that down. Just keep adjusting your ruffles and add a little more glue. And then if you have too much, you're just going to cut your excess off. So you've got your cute little ruffle. Isn't that adorable? And then I come back on the back. You've got some of these areas standing up, and I just tack those down so they will stay in place. And then I'm just going to go back in and glue on some of that sweet lace to finish that edge. I like this pink ribbon, so I'm going to glue some of that across the front of this tag here. And then I'm going to come back with some of these little pink paper flowers and glue those on as well. Making tags is just such a fun and relaxing way to spend an afternoon. Just print some pretty paper, get out all of your laces and ribbons and buttons, and just have some fun. Well, now all I need to do is get everything styled up and show you how beautiful all of this week's projects turned out. I hope you enjoyed today's projects and plan to make a few of these for yourself. Say hello to Jody at Southern Seasons. You will love what you discovered there. Please remember to subscribe for more kinda shabby but always chic, crafty inspirations. And until next week, my sweet friends, be blessed.